Today, we're diving into the life of a man who literally invented an ideology, took over a country, and then led it straight into disaster. This is the incredible story of Benito Mussolini's rise and, of course, his spectacular fall.
So, how on earth does a man who starts out as a socialist journalist, a revolutionary even, end up becoming the father of fascism and one of the most brutal dictators of the 20th century? It's a question that gets right to the heart of his story. A wild tale of ambition, violence, and a complete ideological flip that would change the world forever.
To really get Mussolini, you have to understand his #1 belief: the nation above everything else. He famously said, "If any cry or cheer breaks from our hearts, it must be Viva l'Italia," which means long live Italy. This intense, almost fanatical nationalism became the bedrock of his entire political project.
So, where did this guy even come from? Let's rewind all the way back to his early years as a young rebel. This is where the seeds of the future dictator were really planted.
His early life was just packed with politics and, well, violence. Born in 1883, his dad was a socialist blacksmith who named him after 3 famous revolutionaries. He was a tough kid. He actually got expelled from school for stabbing another student with a penknife. He started his career as a socialist journalist, but here's the key thing. He discovered he was an unbelievably gifted public speaker. When Mussolini talked, people listened.
But then, World War I hits, and everything just flips on its head. Mussolini, who had been passionately against war, does a complete 180. All of a sudden, he's an extreme ultra-nationalist, screaming for Italy to join the fight. This was such a radical shift that it got him booted right out of the Socialist Party and put him on a totally new and dangerous path.
Okay, so he's got this new nationalist fire burning inside him. What does he do with it? Well, he starts forging a fascist state, turning his ideology into a seriously powerful political machine.
So what is fascism anyway? At least the way Mussolini saw it? Well, think of it like this. It's a system where one party, led by one all-powerful dictator, crushes anyone who disagrees with them and controls every single part of society. In a system like that, there's absolutely no room for democracy. His playbook for taking power was as calculated as it was brutal. First, he totally exploited the mess Italy was in after World War I. The country felt humiliated, its economy was in shambles, and people were angry. Perfect. Next, he unleashed his private army, the Black Shirts, who went around beating up and even killing his political opponents. Third, he made his big move, the March on Rome. This was basically a massive show of force to intimidate the king into giving him power. And what do you know? It worked. On October 31st, 1922, he was named Italy's youngest prime minister.
Once he got a taste of power, he wanted it all. He immediately started transforming himself into Il Duce, the leader, and turning Italy from a democracy into his personal dictatorship. I mean, just look at the difference here. It's night and day. Before fascism, Italy had multiple political parties, a free press, a democracy. Under Mussolini, it became a one-party state, the media was completely controlled, and every single opposition party was just gone. He tore down democracy brick by brick. And how did he pull this off? Pure force. By 1923, his personal army, the Black Shirts, had ballooned to around 200,000 members. That's a private army loyal only to him, ready to enforce his will anywhere in the country. And if there was any doubt about how far he would go, 1924 settled it. A brave opposition leader named Giacomo Matteotti stood up and accused the fascists of fraud. A few days later, he was kidnapped and murdered by Mussolini's thugs. The message was crystal clear: defy Il Duce and you will be silenced permanently. So, with Italy under his thumb, Mussolini starts looking beyond its borders. And this leads to a fateful alliance, a terrible war, and in the end, complete and utter ruin.
And that brings us to the infamous Pact of Steel, the alliance he signed with Hitler's Germany in 1939. Publicly, it was all about trust and cooperation, but the secret part was the real story. It was a promise to link their military and economic destinies together, tying Italy's fate directly to the Nazis.
Mussolini had these grand visions of a new Roman Empire, but the reality, well, it was frankly embarrassing. His invasions of Greece and Egypt in 1940 were total disasters. The Italian army got pushed back and only managed to succeed after German troops showed up to bail them out. It exposed him on the world stage as a pretty terrible military leader.
The Allies, of course, were watching all this. By 1943, leaders like Churchill and Roosevelt saw an opportunity. They decided Italy was the soft underbelly of Axis Europe. Their strategy? Hit Italy first and knock it out of the war.
And that Allied invasion is what sets the stage for the final act. This is where it all comes crashing down. Let's get into the dictator's brutal, chaotic end.
His downfall was just as fast and shocking as his rise. In July 1943, with the Allies landing in Sicily, his own fascist party turned on him, and the king had him arrested. But wait, in September, German special forces rescue him in this crazy raid on a mountaintop hotel. Hitler then sets him up as a puppet leader in northern Italy. But his time was up. In April 1945, he tried to escape to Switzerland with his mistress, but they were caught by Italian resistance fighters and executed the next day.
But the story doesn't even end there. On April 29th, the bodies of Mussolini, his mistress, and other executed fascists were taken to a public square in Milan. There, an enraged crowd subjected their bodies to hours of public humiliation, a brutal end reflecting years of pent-up hatred.
And the shock waves from this event were felt all the way in Berlin, when Hitler, hiding out in his bunker, got the news of how Mussolini's body had been treated. He was absolutely horrified. He immediately gave strict orders that after he died, his own body had to be burned completely, so that his enemies could never do the same thing to him.
So Mussolini's regime is now just a dark chapter in the history books. But it leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? While his specific brand of fascism was defeated, has the appeal of that powerful strongman, the one who promises national glory and simple solutions at any cost, has that really faded from the world? It's something we're thinking about.